Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lielu Nishamas Mordechai. Mazel Tov to all the Messiahim, and welcome to all the new guys. I want to start with some of the pictures that just came in, literally, in the last 10, 15 minutes. They started coming in. This one I printed 3 minutes ago. Ben Schwartz's home in Woodmere. So welcome to the Ben Schwartz Chevra. They are live on Zoom right now as we speak. Shalom Aleichem, guys. You see, I'm at home because of the whole COVID thing going on in Eretz Yisrael, the flu. So I'm home, and we don't have the same energy like we have in the Beis Medrash. So, but one thing is different. I get to interact a little bit more with the Zoom guys. Nisan Gans, Shalom Aleichem. Got to give Nisan Gans, Reb Eli Nisan Gans, behind the whole entire Gemara initiative. Jumped up. I didn't realize that he's there. Shalom Aleichem. We have the Manchester Chabura, the Siyum, over 50 people in Manchester. And look at this. This is beautiful. Who is the Messiah in Manchester? Avi Leifman. Bar Mitzvah Bacher, young kid. Over here we have Lakewood. Zeicha to be born there. We have London. I think we're supposed to be in London. No, it was this Masechta, the last Masechta, got canceled because of COVID. I'm hoping. They told me it wasn't going to be in a tent. It was going to be in a fancy hall with a big band. We have Miami, Florida. Over here, you see, this is like United Nations. You have all sorts of Yidden. You have Hasidim and Modern Orthodox and Litvish and Gevaldik. We have Muncie, over 100 people. What's going on here? I don't know what happened. Okay. Over 100 people in Muncie, New York. Over 5 people in Calgary. They're very into social distancing. Last time also, big social distancing over there. Chicago, Illinois, with the merch. They're all wearing some t-shirts, Zachen. I don't know what's going on. I hope my YouTube is not going out, but the screen just went blank on me. It did shut down. So we're going to have to stop for a second. I'm not sure why. What's going on? Oh, now it's back on. So I wonder, maybe if Gary's up, maybe he can come over now. Somebody, Avi, who knows? Maybe one of the guys. No, Avi's not feeling well. COVID. All right. Every few minutes, I'm going to have to go like this. I have to go touch the screen. It's crazy. Weird thing. You sure Elliot went out? Okay. All the guys watching Yeshiva World News, it went out, it went on. I'm at home. We don't have the tech guys. I know, but if I have to start fiddling with the button, with the screen every 5 seconds. Rabbi says, so a bunch of new guys. I want to tell you about the new guys. Over 1,300 new people are joining the DAF today. Coming for the first time, 1,300. And, last Masechta I said over 1,000 and over 1,000 the Masechta before. And today it hit me. I'm like, I gave shir in Chicago for 8 years and had 5 people the entire 8 years. What a chesed from the Rebbeinu Shalom for me. I know that there's people, but for me, the chesed of the Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm not sure why. I'm just a shliach. I know I'm not worthy. But I have to give Akar Satov to Rebbeinu Shalom. 1,300 new people. The numbers just don't make sense. It goes from 5. People would be happy to have 50 people in this year, 100 people, 1,300 people in one shot. So I have to give a groisi yishkoyach to all the guys that went out there and brought people in. And we mentioned Nisanel, Yossi Klein, Shlomi Rosenberg, and all the guys. There's actually a picture here. I didn't want to show pictures so much, but look at this. This is Nachman Mostovsky, his 2 kids, he put out a sign in Landau Shul giving out Gemaras, putting himself down. It's hard to do. It's, but he felt there was a need, and he went out there. So unbelievable. Yishkoyach to him, yishkoyach to his children. Mivaseret, here's John Berg, decided to make a siyum for Mivaseret. Anybody that was Messiah, Maseches Megillah, he made crazy amount of meat and different things. He's very good with his meat. 70 new guys joined up from Mivaseret when I spoke to them. 70. I want to shout out to Beis. I was there last night. Beis, a bunch of guys signed up. Waterbury, Shalom Aleichem to the new guys. Where's Waterbury? They're on here somewhere. Oh, Waterbury! My son Aaron went to Waterbury, so Shalom Aleichem. I heard that the Rosh Hashiva himself, is it true that the Rosh Hashiva watches the shir? He's talking, somebody's talking. I don't know, they said that he watches the shir, and I tell everybody. Like, I said, we have Rosh Hashivas, we have a Rosh Hashiva from Lakewood, and we have here, this, Kyle guys, the whole thing. We have Ashreinu, Nesivas Aaron, a bunch of TJ, a bunch of guys signed up. Who else? I went to a bunch of yeshivas. Okay, if I missed you, I missed you. The sponsors for today's shir. Chayim is the Parnas HaChodesh for the Koilo, lielu Nishamas Yeshua, Arya, Leyva, Kohen, Ben Yonis, and Chayim Zechron Levracha, the Refuah Sididenu, one of the guys from the shir, a young guy, early 40s, who did all our graphics for Ami magazine, etc. He needs a Refuah shleima. Reb Shalom Baruch Yehuda ben Malka Freda, sick with COVID and is out for a very long time. Maseches Moed Katan is dedicated by the Kessler and Davis families. Refuah shleima for Miriam Esther, Devora, bekorov. Joe and Galia Berry, in memory of the 50th yahrzeit of Galia's father, Moshe ben Yehuda. Sruly Bernstein, for the 5th yahrzeit of Binyamin, Zwickler, lielu Nishamas, Binyamin Pinchas ben Yoel Baruch Zeichat Devora. Isaac Baron, l'schus shidduch for Matisyo Tuvia ben Kerni Lana, and lielu Nishmas Yehuda ben Yitzchok, a Talmud of the Shir. Anonymously, in honor of Avi Pines, so impressed and proud, Mazel Tov and Yertzeit, Bezer Hashem, many, many more to follow. Let's see if you can figure out who. And of course, in honor of Reb Eli, for all that he does, thank you. Your shir is possibly the best. What do you mean possibly? You never cease to amaze me. A proud MDY member, thank you. By Abba Rennert. B'schos, another one. B'schos Reb Eli Shlita, thank you for helping me be Messiah and another Masechta, and welcome Moshe Friedman, Gershi Tress, Zevi Markovitz, Naftali Dubavik, Nochem Weisberg, Elchanan Ruvain, and Avi Landau. Enjoy the ride. By Yonathan and Malka Pachas, something like that, in honor of our beloved Eitan Shalom, in celebration of his first Daf Yomi siyum. Mazel Tov, Eitan Shalom. We love you and are so proud of you. And Rabbi Isai, here we go. I want to just make 2 points, really. Usually I give a whole spiel when it comes to the new Masechta. I want to make 2 very important points. It's going to be Chazara for many, but it's very important for all the new guys. It's 1,300 new guys. I want to give you the tip of your life. This is, and by the way, I don't go like this every shir. This is not a thing. But today, whatever the reason is, let me see. You know what? Maybe because I put my phone in the wrong spot, maybe that will do it. Okay, I think it was pushing the button down. Yuvaldik, hopefully that's going to do it. Okay, thank you, Hashem. Here's the tip. Number 1, before I get to the tip, I want to tell you why Daf Yomi. No, that didn't work. Why Daf Yomi is such an amazing thing. And there's many reasons. I'm going to talk about one very important reason. And that is the consistency that Daf Yomi gives. The unbelievable consistency. The day in, day out, every single day of the year, you learn a daf. We learn the daf on Motzei Shabbos. This is crazy. We go like this every 10 seconds. You're consistent. We learn the daf on Yom Kippur, on Tisha B'Av, on Chol Hamoed. And this consistency spreads out to the rest of our lives. People start doing Shnai Mikra, they start working out, they start taking care of themselves. It's just the consistency. It's a consistency that you don't really have with other types of limudim, which are extremely important, like Eon and Chazaras and all that stuff, but the consistency. Always learning on a Friday, on a Sunday, on vacation, in Disney World, etc. And I'm not here to toot my own horn. I haven't spoken about myself in at least 2-3 days. But I'm kidding. It's been more than that. But today is a very special day for me. And if somebody gets a little chizik from this, then it's kedai, even if it comes across as gaiva or whatever. I am very consistent in being inconsistent. That's my personality. When I was in yeshiva, I found myself on the ski slopes, snowboarding, doing whatever, a lot more often than I was in Beis Medrash. But I had times in Beis Medrash, I would sit in Pesach sometimes for 6 hours straight, getting up maybe once to go to the bathroom. So I was able to learn for long periods of time, and then all of a sudden I'm in the slopes. So this inconsistency. And Daf Yomi brought a lot of consistency to my life. In fact, today, big nace, I get this every so often from David from California. Today is my 800th day of not just doing the daf, but preparing and giving a shir. 800 straight days. For somebody that's so inconsistent like myself, to have this number, that means anybody in the world could do it. Because that's what the daf does. It's a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he gave me. I found it. And even for a person that maybe has ADD or whatever I have, that's able to stick to it and do it, tremendous, tremendous gift. And then the final tip I want to give you, it's a tip. And that is that what is the trick to stay on the daf? Everybody comes with this excitement, the beginning of brachas, the beginning of a masechta. But what is the trick to be here and do it day in, day out? So just yesterday, I was on the phone with my cousin, Jonathan, who comes to the shir every day, Jonathan Stefansky, sitting shiva. And the first thing that he mentioned was that he's very sad that he won't be able to do the daf for 7 days. But he said, I know your advice, and the advice is, you always do that day's daf. So if you miss 7 daf, Rahman al-Islam, you miss 10 daf, you miss a masechta, you miss 1 daf. Don't ever go back. And just yesterday, I said over a vart from my son-in-law, Mayor Jacobs. He told me just the other day that when it comes to davening, when a person misses, let's say, Shemona Esrei by mistake, he misses Shacharis, he's supposed to daven 2 minchas. But you always daven the mincha that you're chayiv to daven, and then you do the tashlumim, you do the makeup mincha afterwards. So that's the idea. You always do today's daf. If you have time, you go back and do yesterday's daf. But you never want to do the makeup daf. And a lot of people think they're smarter and they know better and they do it, and Ayu can make it up. And what happens is, instead of making up 1 daf, you fall behind 2 daf, 3 daf, 4 daf, and then you become depressed and you're out of the daf. So the trick is, if you miss a daf, you write it down somewhere in the Gemara, you miss daf, Beis, Gimel, whatever it is. You make it up at a different time when you have the time. But today, you do what everybody does, even if it's in the middle of a sugya. I apologize for going like this because I'm by myself here, and that's what it is today. Now, this is uncomfortable, right? I'll tell you, Chagiga is a fascinating masechta. It's a great masechta. 2 issues. It starts on a Friday, which I don't remember ever having, starting a masechta on a Friday. So we have 2 tough days. Friday's a short day, and Shabbos. It also starts out with 2 daf about fields and shmita, not hard dapim, but maybe a lot of people won't relate to agriculture and that sort of thing. But it's smooth sailing from there. But that's Daf Yomi. Daf Yomi, sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's more fun. We try to have fun and excitement on every single daf. Okay, let's jump into it. We're talking about Chalamayid here. What's mutter, what's asur? Oh, you know what? Before we jump into that, I want to show you. A lot of you received this Gemara, special edition Gemara. But if you open it up, we have to say Hakar Satayv to the people in here that are literally in the part of this art scroll. We have Fischl from Fischl Catering donated $25,000 in honor of Shmuel Fine. And we have Dr. Epstein, sits next to me every day. He lives 2 floors below me, donated a nice amount. lielu Nishamas, his wife. Leon Welcher from South Africa, who donated the app, donated for the Gemara. Shkoyach Leon. We have Anonymous, Murad Nakash, Mr. Anonymous, he doesn't want his name, but we put it in anyway. We have here sponsored L'schus Akiva Simcha Stefansky, a small little one, by Dan Rubinoff. And finally, Mo Landy on the bottom, nice big one. Yeshikoyach to all the sponsors, Yeshikoyach to all the people that went out of the way to bring other people. And here we go. We're talking about Chalamayit. And the Mishnah is of the opinion, this is crazy, the Mishnah is of the opinion that there are two things that we have to avoid in order to do melacha on Chalamayit. If it's, number one, Devora, meaning you have a monetary loss in the actual principle of the thing, not that you could have made money, you should have made money, there's a sale going on, a lot of people in the hotel on Pesach, they run out, where are you going? Going to the sale, it's Devora Ovid. Devora Ovid means that you have something and it's going to go down in value, not that you could get a nice deal on a suit. The other thing is, Tirchi Yisera. If it's very difficult, like this guy carrying something heavy, schwitzing away, then it's also to do. If it's easy to do, then you have but you have to have the combination. Something easy, and it's a monetary loss. When you have one and two together, then you're permitted to do melacha on Chalamayit. So therefore, says the Mishnah, Mashkin beis hashlachin b'moed ubashvias. You're permitted to water a field that's an irrigated field, meaning it requires water, and if you don't irrigate it, you don't give it some water, things are going to go bad. Rashi says it's up in a mountain, so the water just comes right off the mountain. It doesn't really stay. It needs your intervention. It needs your water. So therefore, on Chalamayit, you could go and turn on the sprinkler system. I might have a picture somewhere. You don't really need it, but in Eretz Yisrael, they're very into the sprinkler systems. Here. They invented many different inventions when it comes to sprinklers and watering and irrigation that the entire world uses. In fact, I'll tell you a story real quickly, because we're talking about Shemitah. Ubashvi is a Shemitah. This is a Shemitah year. There was a guy that was becoming religious, and he had fields here in Eretz Yisrael. And he didn't know what to do. How is he going to make parnasa? On the one hand, he's learning about Shemitah, and everybody's trying to convince him, shut down your field for a year. On the other hand, he's going to lose all this money, and he's going back and forth. So he cried out to Hashem, just found him. He's like, Hashem, help me out over here. And he gets a phone call from the United States. They say, listen, we hear that you invented something for irrigation. We want to buy it, but on condition that you come to the United States for a year and you show us how it works. That's the story. So, of course, he made a lot of money and he didn't have to be in Israel with his field and everything worked out great. The Chidah says, by the way, why do we have Shemitah? And he says it's because the 2 months of Nisan and Tishrei, those are the months that people work the field all day and they don't have time for Torah. They don't do the daf. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them 1 year every 6 years. It's the 12 months that 6 years times 2 months is 12 months. He gives them 12 months that they can concentrate straight in their learning. So, says the Mishnah, now think about this for a second, this line over here. Whether it's a spring that just sprung up, it just started now, and the concern is if it's brand new, things are going to go wrong, the walls are going to fall in, and that is a tirchi yisera, that would be part of this. You would have to sit and work and build the walls, so it's not a good thing. You can't do that on Chalamayit. And even if it's a spring, that's already old. It's already there for a while. No concern that you're going to have to do a tirchi yisera. So if we stop here, we pause, it'll be easier for later on. And that is that if we say this first case, that it's brand new, and the walls are going to fall in, I could fix it. I might have to fix it, but I could still use it. So certainly if the walls are old, then I don't have to fix it. So in fact, I don't have to say both cases, l'chayra. That's the Gemara's question. One case, give me the harder case. Give me the case that's a bigger chiddush, the case that it might fall in. It's a brand new irrigation system. It's a brand new spring. Might fall in. I might have to fix. It might look something like this. We're going to use this in a second. But let's say you have brand new water start flowing through here. And this wall right over here, these walls on the side, they might cave in. If it's there for years, you know it's not going to cave in. Okay. Says the Mishnah. You cannot use rainwater that fell somewhere because that's tirchis area, you're carrying the water, or water from a well. Can't do that either. You can't make chocolate chip cookies for the grapes. Not really. But ugiyos are circles. Wow, it's getting now. I'm just going to have to put my finger on the screen in Shalom Yisrael. I took a bunch of chocolate chip cookies and made a circle out of them because that's the point. The point is it's a circle. It's called ugiya in Hebrew. Ugiya is a cookie. You make, here's the little guy. To do this around the grapevines, that's too much work. It's a tirchiyas era. So the Amma is this guy. This is the Amma. And why is it called the Amma? Like you see in the red arrows, because typically it's an Amma wide and an Amma tall, but it really means it's an irrigation system. The water flows through, so obviously you can't dig that out on Chalamayid. It's too much of a malacha. Uba shvius. And so too on Shemitah. Now, when we say Einosim Ugiyas like Fana, when we go back, you can't make circles around. That's talking tircha. That tircha is a halacha that has to do with Chalamayid. It doesn't have to do with Shemitah. There's no isser in the Torah to work hard on Shemitah. The isser is to plow your field, to create something that grows, but you're allowed to work hard. It's not Yontif. The Rambam, I think, other Rishonim say the reason why you can't work on Yontif, the reason, they give reasons, is because Yontif is for Simcha. Yontif is, somebody's at the door, but I can't get the door. Somebody's coming here to help me. But okay, hopefully somebody lets him in. 5. Zogt the Gemara. The Mishnah. V'chachamim oirim, oisim eso'ama batchila b'shmita. Oisim eso'ama batchila b'shvius, you could dig a ditch on Shemitah. Now, on Chalamayid you can't. Now it's very interesting. I heard a story about Reb Chaim Kanievsky. A woman came to Reb Chaim Kanievsky and she said that a lot of the people in the bank, their legs were hurting them. What should they do? So he told them, don't work on Chalamayid. Okay, but what's the reasoning? He said because regel tachas regel. Regel is Yantif. And because they worked on Yantif, on Chalamayid, their feet hurt. That's what he said. That's what I heard. And of course, they stopped working and their feet went back to normal. Okay. And you could fix the broken ditches on Chalamayid. In other words, if dirt fell into the ditch right over here, that you could do. And I put here this stone. I don't know if you see the stone, because that's something that you could just kick with your foot. It's easy to move aside and let the water flow earlier in the Mishnah. You could clear whatever you need from these ditches. Now we're talking about things that are for the public use. So the public needs streets, the backyard streets, the alleyways. They need mikvahs mayim. They need a mikvah. V'oisin kol sarki harabim. You can do anything for the public. I saw brought down, they were building a hospital, Shari Tzedek. Is that considered tzarchei rabim? Not. Could you build on Chalamayid? Not build. Now I'm remembering when I lived in Ramat Hanan for 3 years. That's Yitzchak Zilberstein's neighborhood in Bnei Brak. So he made a big Afghanah. They were building a gan on, kindergarten on Chalamayid, and he's very, very upset. He came there, and I was thinking maybe it's Tzorchi Rabin, maybe not. Whatever, he held it's also, so probably it's also. Va'osin kol Tzorchi Rabim u'metzainin hakvaros, and you could show where the kvarim are. Here, by the way, for earlier, this is a cistern of water that the Mishnah mentioned. So it's a public cistern. You could take care of it. If things fall into it, you could clear it out. But here, a picture from Tzvat. As you can see, the graves are in blue. And that is so that the Kohanim know where to go and how to go, and they don't have to worry about stepping on different graves. Come on in, Hillel. Shkoyach. What are you going to do exactly? Every 10 seconds. Okay, we got a screen presser. So this you could do this again. Let's say Rabim, so Kohanim don't become Tameh, and very good. Shkoyach. V'yotzin af ala klayim. Now, when it comes to klayim is the isser to plant two types of seeds together, let's say wheat and grapes, two different types of seeds. Now, we're going to see soon that there's an isser. Don't push it that hard because every time we push it, it shakes. So, okay, it's a balagan today. Of course, first day of Masechta, we always have issues. Now I have a guy, Rabbi said, you guys don't see it, but I have a guy with his face 1 foot away from my face, looking at the screen going like this. It's gewaldig. The daf. We got to do it in all situations. This whole week I was sick, under the weather. You keep on plugging. Day 800. We got a guy touching the screen 1 foot away from me. V'yotzin afal haklayim, and these shlichim of Bezin go out, and they make sure that people don't have klayim. That if they find something growing that it came from two seeds, they're going to pull it out. Says the Gemara. We're just 17 lines, what I already explained in the Mishnah. Why do we need two cases of the wall that was there for a while and it's probably not going to fall in, so you're allowed to use it on Chalamayit, and a brand new wall? If I say a brand new wall, so certainly an older wall I could use. The lielu is not going to fall midbay. Amri, it's tzrich. I need it. Itana mayin shiotze batchila havamina hachu de beis hashlachin in beis habaloy. I don't think it's only because this is a field that requires constant irrigation. And if you don't irrigate it, what's going to happen? Everything's going to die. But beis habal, that it's a field that could rely on the rain, on natural resources, natural rain. You don't need to really irrigate it. So I think that you cannot do it on Chalamayit. That's not good. I have to be concerned. Why should you be able to irrigate it? What happens if the walls fall in? So let's read it again. His hand is confusing me. Maybe don't press it every 3 seconds. Okay, I don't know. You'll see the screen becomes like lighter, and then you do it. Okay. But if it's brand new, sorry. But if it's not brand new, it's old. It's not going to fall down. I'll think that even where you don't really need irrigation because it has natural rain, you could just use that. I'll think you could water it even though you don't need to. Doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter how old it is. No matter what. The only time you could use one of these, whether it's an older one, whether it's a new one, is only when it's a beis hashlachin. It's a field that 100% needs it. And if you don't water it on Chalamayit, you're going to have a Devora of it. It's going to be a tremendous monetary loss. Otherwise, you cannot You cannot irrigate it. New sugya. So we have two things. We have a beis hashlachim, which means that you must irrigate it, and we have a beis habal that uses rainwater. You don't have to irrigate it. But what does shlachim mean? Where did they get the word from? What does baal mean? Says the Gemara. Okay, so we're going to tell you where we got the words from. The high beis hashlachim tz'chusa. How do you know it means thirsty? Dechsiv va'ata oyef v'yogeya. Oyef over here doesn't mean tired like in Hebrew. It means thirsty. You are tired and you're exhausted. There's a guy on a train. I don't have time really for jokes, but it's not that great of a joke. Maybe we'll go weiter, but I started it. Reb Eli says, there's a bunch of people on the New York subway, and a guy just says over and over, I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty. So they had enough of him. So they look, could you just give him your drink? Fine. They give him a drink. The guy drinks the whole drink. He goes, wow, I was so thirsty. I was so thirsty. I was so thirsty. Not that great. We see this all over Shas. Mishale is with a hey. But a hey and a ches, they're interchangeable, and therefore you can read it mishal hey. So the word oyef, thirsty, is mishal hey. That's why we call it beis hashlachim. How do you know that the word baal means that he's settled, everything is good, you don't need any irrigation, it has enough rainwater? Like an unmarried person who will have relations with a psula, we teach it, just like a guy gets married to a psula, that the Nemuki Yosef says that his taivas leave him. He's not looking for anything else. He's happy. He has a psula. So that's the lashon of settling down. Mantana, the pseida in harvachaloi. Who's the Tana that says that if you have a loss, then you could do malacha on chalamayid, but just to make a monetary gain, you cannot. You need two things. You need that it shouldn't be too much of a burden. Who says these two things? So try number one is that it's Reb Eli Yaakov. This nan we learned in the Mishnah. We're going to learn later on a few daf vav. Reb Eli Yaakov, when it comes to the chalamayid, let's say you have a lot of water by a tree, you could bring it out to the next tree. Make sure that you don't irrigate the entire field, because what? That's just for profits. That's just to make everything better. We're trying to prevent a monetary loss of the tree. That you can do. So the Gemara says, but wait a minute. You're talking about monetary loss and monetary gain. Okay, that's the red. But we didn't mention anything in the green. It didn't say anything about working hard, not working hard. Really appreciate it. Otherwise, I'd have to be going like this. You gotta make do with what you have. So, Reb Eli is only talking about revach, hefsed, but he's not talking about tircha. El Papa, you're right. Somebody else. Homani Reb Yehuda, he goes according to Reb Yehuda. This anya, mayon hayotzei batchila. If it's a brand new irrigation ditch, mashki mimenu afilus de'abal. So that's not like our Mishnah, obviously. He says brand new irrigation ditch. You could use it even for a field that has rainwater. Divi Rebbe Meir. Rebbe Yehuda Omer, and this is what we're looking for. This Rebbe Yehuda. Yehuda Omer, ein mashkim elos dei beis hashlachim shecharva. You could only water a field that needs irrigation, is not can't use the rainwater. It's not enough for it. Shecharva, we'll see exactly what it means, but it means dried up, completely dried up, but it's dry. So that's our Rebbe Yehuda. We're going to see in a second. No. Yasser Akena Amar Rebbe Yehuda. Lo yifan Adam. So Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah argues. Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah holds that, we'll see in a second, even if it's a beis hashlachin, even if it's a field that's irrigated, that you need to irrigate it, and you have a mayin shiyatzim b'tchila, it's aser. So we'll see. Omar Yisrael Ken Omer Reb Yehuda. Lo yifane adam amas hamayim. You're not allowed to clean out this ditch. V'yashki l'ginasai, and water is garden, u'l'churvasai, b'choil shamayim. So here we see the two things. Number one, we see that you're not allowed to clean out. Why can't you clean out? Because here's the concept of tirchei seira. It's too much work. And we also said that he says you could only do the trees because of Devora. So we have the two concepts. My charva, now let's explain what it means dry. Ilem charva mamish is completely dried up. Why is a person watering something that's dry? It has no use, it's dead, everything's dead. It means one spring dried up, there's a brand new spring. So here's the idea. This is very important. If you already watered this field yesterday, so now the field is dependent on water, so now you can continue watering the field. But if you never turned on your sprinkler system, or you never had another irrigation source, then you cannot start a Chol Hamoed watering it. Nothing's going to happen. Just wait until after Chol Hamoed. But if you started before Chol Hamoed watering it, and you take that 7-8 day pause, you're going to kill all your crop. And that's why you're allowed to. Says the Gemara, Umimai, who said it's Reb Yehuda? Dilmad kan loy kama Reb Yehuda beis hashlachin in beis habaloi. Maybe he only said when it comes to a field that you need to water, Elamai on shiatzav b'tchila, we're turning to Daf Beis, Amud Beis, Dilma hasil impule. It's a brand new wall. Yeah, sponsors, I know that I have. Dilma shkoyach mark. Why? Because the wall's going to fall down. But if it's an older ditch, the wall is not going to fall down. So there's no concern that you're going to work hard. So who told you that Rabbi Yehuda holds like our Mishnah? Maybe Rabbi Yehuda holds that even a field that has rainwater, you could irrigate with an older system that has no concern that it's going to fall down. That's the question. We just turned to that Beis Amud Beis, sponsored by Moshe Horn and Woody Wyman as a schus for Morty Moskowitz, and in honor of myself for all that I do by Chaim Peretz Levine. Says the Gemara, so who says it's Reb Yehuda? Interesting answer. Who could it be? We just went through all options. It's not Reb Elazar ben Azariah. It's not Reb Meir. So we're stuck. It has to be Reb Yehuda. Says Gemara, Reb Yehuda doesn't matter according to Reb Yehuda whether it's an older irrigation system, a new irrigation system, beis hashlachin in, beis habaloi, like our Mishnah, but not that hard because the whole YouTube. So beis hashlachin in, beis habaloi. It's crazy. If anybody stays, your tzaddikim gemurim, go to the other guy's shir. He doesn't go like this every 10 seconds and the screen go like that. Wow. Okay. Embarrassing. I should have listened to the sound guys. He said, listen, I don't care about COVID. Go to the Beis Medrash. You have a great camera system there. Everything's great. Might have to do that. By the way, I forgot to mention, Motzei Shabbos, we are changing the time, especially for this coming week. This Motzei Shabbos, shir's at 8:30 live from a secret location in Yerushalayim at a restaurant, beautiful restaurant, taken out for all the yeshiva boys that finish Masechtas Megillah. So I'm going to be Messiahing there, and in order for me to get to Yerushalayim, I need extra time, so 8:30 Be'ez Hashem. Says the Gemara. So then, why does the Brisa talk about a brand new wall, an irrigation system with a brand new wall? If this halacha goes according to Reb Yehuda, then it doesn't matter if it's brand new or old, it's the same thing. To teach us how strong Reb Meir's opinionated in his opinion. He's so lenient that even if it's a brand new ditch, and even if it's a field that already receives rainwater, it's enough of rainwater. You come over here, give the stone a kick, and let it run. That's his shita. Itmar. We have two malachas here. A guy that's weeding weeds out of his field. Now, why does somebody take out the weeds from his field? Think about it for a second. Why? It's not for aesthetics. It's to make the other plants grow better. So in a way, it's very similar to watering your field. Now, just a few very interesting halachas regarding watering your field. We have right over here, next to my house, there's a water fountain. And on it, somebody wrote, do not use this on Shabbos. Why? Because when you drink the water, it just goes right out. There's no real drain. The city put up a water fountain, but it drains out into the plants. That's something that you have to be concerned about. If it's immediate, if the water just falls down right there, you can't. By the way, I don't want to, but relieving oneself on grass, is that mutter or asur? Think about it. You're watering a field. The answer is it's mutter, because it doesn't help. It just ruins. So I thought it's interesting, these halachas. Fine. By the way, if the water fountain, if the water goes out and it comes out 10, 15 feet away, I don't know what the amount is, but if it's somewhere else, into the grass, that's not a problem. I'm not a Rav again, I'm not passing, I'm just telling you what I know. Itmar. Hamanakish v'amashke mayim lizram b'Shabbos. Mishum mayim masrinim bei. So we have the 39 malachas in Shabbos. And in order to give somebody malchus or misa, you have to warn him. You have to, two Edom come say, hey, if you do X, Y, Z, you're going to get einish. But you have to tell them what it is. The Taisus in Maseches Shabbos says you don't really have to tell him, but if you tell him the wrong thing, then he could say he was what? I wasn't watering my field, I was taking out weeds. So maybe it's a problem. So you have to say the exact. If you're going to tell him, it has to be exact. That's one shita. Not everybody holds like that. Fine. Rabbi says, because when you take out weeds, you're softening the ground. When you water the field, you're softening the ground. So it's plowing. Because you're sowing, you're planting. By you taking out the weeds, you're making it better for the other things. It makes more sense like me. You're softening the field. It makes more sense like me. When you put a seed in the ground, you're trying something to grow. Very interesting Taisus here. If you look in Taisus Divra Maskell, Taisus says, the machlekes is, what is his intent? Does it go by his intent or it goes by what he's doing right now? If it goes by what he wants to accomplish in the future, that's Reb Yosef. He's trying to plant, he's trying something to grow. But right now, what is he doing? He's plowing. So that's the shaila here. By the way, I missed a very, very important Rashi. I have to go back for a second. Rashi, all the way in the beginning of the Masechta, Rashi says an amazing thing. Rashi asks, if, it's very important, maybe Yosef could take it out and put it in the beginning. With all the going like this, I forgot to say this Rashi. But if working in Chalamayt is Dairaisa, like a lot of Rishonim hold, how could Chacham say, well, you're allowed to do Melacha if it's not hard, if you have a hefset, but it's Dairaisa? Rashi says amazing. The Torah gave permission to Chachamim to decide when and how that halacha applies, and that just goes to show you how strong Chachamim, what kind of power they have in general. Anyway, Zakti Gemara. So, Omar le Abaye le Rabba. Abaye tells Rabba, who's fighting Rabba and Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef is Abaye's Rebbe. Rabba is his uncle. Lididach kasha. Rav Yosef kasha. Both. You brought me up. Rav Yosef is my Rebbe. A question to both of you. Lididach kasha mishum chayishim mishum zerele. Why can't they just say he's chay for both of them? He's doing both melachas. Rav Yosef kasha mishum zerele mishum chayish. Same question. He's doing two things. But maybe you have to pick one out of the two. Who said you have the right to warn him on two things? Oh, nice picture here. A guy cutting down some of the branches, shortening the branches. What is he doing? He's trying to make the tree stronger. But he also wants to take this and throw it into the fire. He's doing two things at the same time. Zoymer v'tzarech leitzim, he needs fuel for the fire. Chayiv shtayim. You're chayiv for two malachas and Shabbos. Achas b'shum neteya. He's actually planting. He's making this stronger, so it's planting. It's a tolda. But he's also reaping. He's also taking wood. So you see that you could warn him for two things on Shabbos. You don't have to pick one or the other. And Memela, says the Gemara, kasha. It's a beautiful kasha. I don't know. So Rav Yosef has a question to Rav. Hamanakish, somebody who weeds, v'mechapa, and somebody who covers, takes dirt and puts it over a plant, l'klayim loika. If it's a plant that's based off of two different seeds, so he's trying to make it grow better by throwing dirt on it or taking out the weeds, loika, he gets malchus. Now we have to understand, what is he doing here on Shemitah? What's the Isser on Shemitah? Shemitah, like this year, you're not allowed to plow a field. So Rabbi Kiva Omer Afa Makayim, even letting something exist, which is very interesting. You didn't do anything. It's a Sheval Taisa. You're sitting back and watching it grow. You also get malchus for that. Says the Gemara Bishlam, according to me, I say the whole problem is planting. That's awesome. You're not allowed to plant. Climb. We're not talking about Shemitah. We're talking about climb. You're not allowed to plant seeds together. But according to you, that the whole problem is plowing. Where does it say anywhere you're not allowed to plow when it comes to climb? You're not allowed to plow on Shemitah. But you're allowed to plow a field. You're just not allowed to plant two seeds together. Amalei, you're right. The problem here is that it already started growing, and that's the Isser. But that doesn't make sense, because that's the next part. It's Rebbe Kiva that comes up with this idea and says, you're not allowed to let it stay. That's Rebbe Kiva's invention, nothing to do with the Tanakama. How can you put it into the Tanakama's words? Says the Gemara, no, there is no Tanakama. Kula Rebbe Kiva. The whole thing from beginning to end is Rebbe Kiva. It's not like Rebbe Kiva comes up with a new chiddush. Rebbe Kiva is just explaining what he said in the beginning. What's the reason that somebody takes out the weeds and covers the plant with dirt? He gets malchus. Because he's letting it stay. He should have uprooted it. Like the Mishnah said, you send shlichim out there to uproot. My time in the Rebbe Kiva, what's his reasoning? The Sanya Sadchal Yisizra Klein. So you have to see this. This is amazing. It says in the pasuk, there's one sentence that's in red. Behemtecha loy sarbia klein. You can't put two different types of animals together. And then the blue is another sentence. Sadchal Yisizra Klein. Instead of saying loy sizra sadchal klein, the loy should be over here. They put the loya over here. Why? Because now in yellow we make another sentence. And the sentence is Klayim Sotchaloi. You're not allowed to have Klayim in your field. You hear? We take two different sentences, the red and the blue, and we combine the red and the blue to make a new sentence. That's how Rebbe Kiva learns it. Says the Gemara. The Sanya Sotchaloi Sizra Klayim. That's how we read it. Make a new sentence. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, all the way in the bottom, 10 lines from the bottom. You're allowed to irrigate the field that requires irrigation on Chalamoid and on Shemitah. Bishlam Moed, I understand Chalamoid, Mishum Tircho, Ubimaglim say the Shorabana. It's a lot of work to irrigate. And if you have a big loss, as Rashi mentioned before, Chachamim, the Torah allows Chachamim to say that's mutter. Elo Shvi is Shemitah, Bein Lamandom Mishum Zureh, Bein Lamandom Mishum Chayresh, Zureh Charisha B'Shvi is Nishari. How you allowed to? Where does it say? How you allowed to plant? How you allowed to plow the field? Amar Abaye, B'Shvi is B'Zman Hazeh. We're talking about Shemitah nowadays, like today, which is only a Derabana, and in a Derabana when it's very when there's a loss, then we allowed. V'Rebbe, the Sanya, Rebbe Omer, V'Zed Dvar Shemitah Shemoit. It says in the pasuk a double lashon, Shemitah Shemoit. The pasuk is talking about the Shemitah Ksafim. You owe somebody money. When Shemitah comes, it's wiped out, unless you make a principle or whatever, but it's wiped out. So the Rebbe darshans that it's talking about two types of shmitas. Not only money, but also the field. B'shtei shmitas hakosim medaber, achas shmitas karka, v'achas shmitas ksofim. Bisman she'atam mishamit karka, atam mishamit ksofim. When there's kedusha sa'aretz, when there's kedusha in the land, like in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, then there's shmita in the field, there's also shmita in the money. Bisman she'atam mishamit karka, atam mishamit ksofim. Ubisman she'atam mishamit karka, iatam mishamit ksofim. And therefore, Bizman Hazeh, in our days, it's a Derabanan. And since it's Derabanan, they made a heter to it when necessary. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining. I hope our next year will be a little bit better and more interesting. We won't have to go like this every 10 seconds. And Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful Shabbos. I'll stay on a little bit to Shmuz with the Oilam on Zoom. Have a great day.